Okay, now we'll look at a formal definition of utility functions and some properties. So mathematically, a real valued function u is called utility function representing the preference relation swiggle if for all x0 and x1 belonging to the consumption set, if we have for every x0 weakly preferred to x1, utility at x0 should be greater than equal to utility at x1. Okay, so the definition says that for all x0 and x1 belonging to the consumption set, so remember I told you that this is the consumption set. If x0 is weakly preferred to x1, then utility at x0 should be greater than or equal to utility of x1, okay, which basically means three things. If bundle A is strictly preferred to bundle B, then utility at A should be greater than utility at B. Okay, so this statement in itself means three implications. This is implication number one. Implication number two is if A is less preferred to B, then utility at A should be less than utility at B. And implication 3 is if A is indifferent to B, then utility of A is equal to utility at B. Okay, so these three implications are hidden in this very one statement. Okay, so for example, we are talking about this entrance exam. So the job of the entrance exam is that an entrance exam is good if the more deserving candidate is getting higher marks. Okay, so if you see that if authorities, if examiners feel that the undeserving candidates are getting more marks, then they will change the structure of the exam. So you see a lot of exams. So ISI used to be subjective and objective till 2015. In 16 they switched to completely objective pattern because it was becoming difficult to subjectively check all the papers. But after 2 years they switched back to objective followed by subjective. The reason is in that 2 years ISI realized that the quality of students who's coming in is not good enough. So the entrance exam is not ranking people well enough. So it was not a good utility function. Okay, so more deserving candidates were getting lesser marks and they were not being able to crack the exam. So that's the reason why they went back to this objective and subjective pattern. So the same is true for any economist. So suppose I am an economist working for Amazon, I am doing the predictive analysis for them, and I predict that if you change prices by this much, so many people should be buying the product. But when the sale actually happens, we see that some of the products are running out of stock in 15 minutes, whereas some of the stock is not being sold out for 5 days. So in that situation, I need to recheck my models. The utility functions which I had assumed about people are wrong. Okay, so I need to go back to my models and I need to change them. So that's what the job of utility function is. It should be giving higher marks to the more deserving candidates or higher utility numbers to the more preferred bundles. Okay, so that's the job of utility functions. Now there are certain properties. The first property is positive monotonic transformations. So what are positive monotonic transformations? So positive monotonic transformations mean that a utility function represents, suppose some utility function u represents swiggle and f is an increasing function, then f of u also represents swiggle. So that's the idea. So the composite function f of u will also represent swiggle. For example, u is some function which is giving you marks in an exam. Okay, u is some function which goes from your consumption set to R, which is your utility function. Okay, now suppose there is some other function f which goes from R to R, which is basically f of x equals to x plus 5. Okay, so what will f of u look like? So f of u will look like every agent's marks will be added by 5. Okay, so imagine an exam wherein everybody has got marks. Now suppose I do a transformation and I give 5 marks extra to each and every individual. Okay? Will the ranking change by transformation? Suppose the only change I do is I take everybody's marks. I have an Excel sheet. Okay, so understand the problem. I have an Excel sheet wherein I have everybody's marks. Okay, what I do is I add 5 to every marks. Will the ranking of the agents change if I add 5 marks to every individual's marks?
No, sir.
It won't change. Okay, so everybody gets 5 marks extra. The topper is still the topper, the second ranker is still the second ranker, and so on. So this transformation wherein f of u becomes u plus 5 will not change the relative ranking of any two people. Okay, so no two people will be changing their positions, relative positions, because of this transformation. So this function x plus 5 is a valid monotonic transformation. So remember, what is the job of utility function? The job of utility functions is to be able to rank the different bundles correctly. The marks themselves do not matter. Okay? So suppose the exam happens and you find that one of the questions was wrong, so you appeal to suppose you are not selected in the exam and you find that one of the questions was wrong, so you go to them and you tell the authorities that this question was wrong and I should get marks for this. What they do is they give marks to everyone because the question was wrong for everyone. So if everybody gets marks for that question irrespective, then your relative ranking will not change. Okay. uh, for example, let's take another function g from R to R, which is g of x equals to x by 2. Okay, so I'm saying everybody's marks are halved. Right, so suppose everybody's marks are halved. So if everybody's marks are divided by 2, so instead of plus 5 I'm doing division by 2 for everyone. So again relative ranking will not change. Okay, so this is also a valid monotonic transformation. Now let's consider one more, h from R to R, such that h of x equals to x square. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm going to square everybody's marks. Okay. Will the relative ranking change in this situation?
No, sir.
Hmm. Okay, so suppose agent A's marks is -1 and agent B's marks is -2. So right now agent A has a higher ranking than B. Okay, but if you square up the marks, agent A's marks become 1, agent B's marks become 4, and now B will be more preferred to A. Okay. You can get negative marks and you can get negative utility values. Okay, so I never at this till this point of time I never mentioned if utility functions should give you only positive output. Inputs need to be positive. So look at what the construction was. Utility function goes from consumption set to R. Consumption set has to be R plus positive, R plus N. That is, the input needs to be positive amount of every commodity, but output could be negative. Okay, so you can do a positive amount of each question in the exam, but you can still come out with negative marks in the exam if there is negative marking. And if there is negative marking, you can get -1 marks, the other guy gets -2, he's below you. But if you square the marks, he's above you. So you cannot use squaring automatically. You can use squaring if you are certain that nobody has negative marks or no bundle has negative utility values. Okay, so in situations where you are sure that none of the utility values are negative, then you can use squaring. For example, uh, yeah, yes, Nick.
But sir, if x can be negative, then in cases like that, fx x plus 5, तो उसमें भी अगर हम -1 -2 पुट करें, तो उस केस में भी रैंकिंग चेंज हो सकती है फिर तो.
Good, Good doubt. So suppose this very case, okay, suppose I am doing plus 5 here. So when I add plus 5 to this guy's marks become 4, and when I add plus 5 to this guy's marks becomes 3. So he's still above it. Okay, so the reason is that the transformation function, so this transformation function x plus 5, if you just draw the graph of this transformation function x plus 5, this graph must be a monotonically increasing graph. So x plus 5, it looks like a straight line, right? So this is the graph of x plus 5, y equals to x plus 5. So if you do a transformation u plus 5, since x plus 5 uh, is a monotonically increasing function, I'm not going to do the proof of this, but I'm giving you hint into how to do it. Because x plus 5 is a increasing function, for if input is higher, the output will be higher. Okay, so so here the input was higher here, so the output was also higher here. Okay, same is for x by 2. X by 2, the graph of x by 2, it is also monotonically increasing function. X by 2 looks like this. So this function is also monotonically increasing. For a higher input, you always get a higher output, irrespective of the negative or positive sign. But look at x square graph. X square graph looks like this. It's not a monotonically increasing graph. It is reducing and then it is increasing. However, if all the inputs are positive, in the positive x-axis, this is a continuously increasing graph. So if all the inputs, that is, if all the initial utility values are positive, then it is an increasing function, and then you can use monotonic transformation and square it. Okay, I've not done the graphs right now, so if anybody of you has a problem with graphs, just be patient. I will be looking at how to plot these simple lines and simple graphs, because they obviously help us. But that's the idea, that if the transformation function is monotonically increasing, then the monotonic transformation is okay. If the transformation function is not monotonically increasing, then you might run into problems. Okay. So the only thing that you need to remember is, you can do squaring, you can do cubing, you can do all kinds of things, only if your utility function is not reporting negative values. Okay, Nani?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, so remember that if your utility function is root xy never reports negative values. It always reports positive values. So you can always do this transformation into v, which is xy. You can basically square this up and get this function xy, and you can do all your maths on xy instead of doing it on root xy, because root xy becomes a little tedious to work with. Okay, so we can do this because this function is never reporting negative values. It is always reporting positive values. Because so in that situation we can do this transformation. So here we have an example. So just we have looked at most of this. So x plus 10, is this a valid monotonic transformation? Yes. U minus 10, is this a valid monotonic transformation? Again, yes. If everybody's marks are reduced by 10, again the ranking is going to be same. So consider the function x minus 10. Okay, so u minus 10. So just look at the function y equals to x minus 10. So if I draw the function x minus 10, x minus 10 will look like this. Y equals to x minus 10. So this is again increasing function, passes from 0 comma minus 10. So this is again a monotonically increasing function, so it is a valid monotonic transformation. Okay. So this is valid, whereas this is not valid. Alright, now the final property which is important is convexity. So we'll have a separate chapter to discuss convexity, quasi-concavity and everything. Right now I am just going to give you a working definition of what convexity means. So I am going to say that utility functions are quasi-concave in nature, a property which emanates from the convexity of preference relations. Okay, so if preferences are convex, then utility functions are quasi-concave. Okay, so my claim is that if preferences are convex, then utility function is quasi-concave. So first I'll look at what it means for utility functions to be convex, then I'll look at what it means for first I look at what it means for preference to be convex, then I'll understand what does it mean for a function to be quasi-concave, and then I look at the proof that this implies this. Okay, so there are three parts to understanding this simple statement, because we don't know what convexity and quasi-concavity is at this point of time. So first of all, convexity of preferences. Convexity of preferences simply says that if you have two bundles A and B, okay, such that A is indifferent to B, then if you connect these two bundles with a line segment, then any intermediate point C will be strictly preferred to A and B. Okay, you can call this as law of averages. So to give you an example from real life, suppose bundle A is 1, 3 and bundle B is 3, 1. So suppose I am getting a payment of 1 pizza and 3 burgers on day 1. On day 2 I am getting 3 pizzas and 1 burger. So what I can do is I can strike a deal with this restaurant. Suppose I am working in this restaurant. The restaurant owner says ki on one day I will give you 3 pizzas and 1 burger. On day 2 I will give you 3 burgers and 1 pizza. So I can strike this deal with the restaurant owner and tell him ki, suppose the underlying condition is I am indifferent. If I am indifferent between these 2 points, then I will just go to the restaurant owner and say ki instead of doing this, give me 2 pizzas and 2 burgers on both the days, and I will be happier on each of the days. Okay, so that's convexity. If convexity is obeyed, it means that averages are going to be make you better off. Okay, so that's convexity of preferences. Okay, now I am going to look at quasi-concave. Okay, वैसे point C, okay, this point C, you mathematically represent it as t times A plus 1 minus t times B for t belonging to 0 से 1. So C is some convex combination of A and B, or a weighted average of A and B. So it need not be just the midpoint, it could be very close to A or it could be very close to B. Okay, it cannot be exactly A or exactly B. Remember that I am not including 0 and 1 in the t values. So t values have to be either strictly greater than 0 and strictly greater than strictly less than 1. So it has to be strictly between 0 and 1. It cannot be both 0, either 0 or 1 exactly. So any of these values is valid. For any of these intermediate values, you are going to be better off than either A and B. So that's convexity. Now let's look at quasi-concavity. So quasi-concavity basically means that if you have a function such that the functional value at point A and functional value at point B are same. So if the function is quasi-concave and I connect these 2 points with a line, the functional value at any point C is going to be greater than functional value at A and functional value at B. Okay, which is again saying that intermediate values are more preferred, and it is true not just for midpoint, it is true for any C lying between A and B. So for any C which lies between A and B, where A and B satisfy this property that A and B पे functional values are same, then any intermediate point will give you higher value of utility. So obviously both the things are saying the same thing, law of averages, that intermediates are preferred, that if you are indifferent between 2 points, all the points in between are going to be strictly preferred. Either strictly preferred or utility higher is the same thing. So that's why this implication also holds. So it's the same thing that we are talking about. Okay, so preferences being convex is a logically equivalent statement to utility function being quasi-concave. So we talked about logical equivalence in last class. So these two statements are logically equivalent. Now yeah, so I want to give an example for this. I won't go into preferences, but I'll definitely give an example of utility function which is quasi concave, root xy. Okay, so root xy is going to be quasi concave because let's take 3 points, 1 comma 3, 3 comma 1, and the midpoint 2 comma 2. So the utility value at 1 comma 3 is going to be under root 1 into 3, which is root 3. Utility value at 3 comma 1 is under root 3 into 1, which is root 3. So at these 2 points the utility values are same, so the consumer is in fact indifferent between these 2 points. Okay, but the utility value at 2 comma 2 is under root 2 into 2, which is 4, which is 2, which is strictly greater. So this is more preferred to either of these two bundles. So 2 comma 2 is more preferred to 1 comma 3 and 3 comma 1. Okay, so this utility function root xy, it is quasi concave, and the preference which it represents is convex. We don't say that root xy is convex. In fact, root xy function will prove later on, when we have done multivariable calculus, will prove that root xy is not concave. We'll prove that it's not concave, but sorry, not convex, but it is quasi concave. Okay, so right now we do not have all the tools necessary for that. So at this point of time we are going to stick to this idea that quasi concavity means intermediates are preferred, and convexity of preferences also means intermediates are preferred. Okay, but you should be able to understand, remember only one thing, that quasi concavity is with respect to the function and convexity is with respect to the preferences. Okay, so that's the only thing that you need to remember right now.